Thank you, Madam Chair. It's fitting that the committee's first joint hearing of this Congress is being held by the Subcommittee on Consumer Protection and Commerce and Environment and Climate Change, since we're here to examine one of this administration's most egregious assaults on American consumers, the U.S. economy and the climate. Now, let me just say, you know, I love John Shimkus, but when I heard him complain about the fact that we were trying to put a state representative on a federal panel, I would just remind him of a hearing that was held on the Flint water crisis on April 13th, 2016, was a joint hearing with the Environment and the Economy Subcommittee, which he chaired at the time, and the Health Subcommittee. And the first panel consisted of 2 witnesses from the United States Environmental Protection Agency, a witness from the U.S. Department of Health, and then the director of the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality and the director of the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. So I don't know why—
Would the gentleman yield just to set the record straight?
No, because I'm just having fun.
Well, the point was, we agreed to that.
I understand. I'm just—
And it was a career
pointing
witness.
something out.
It wasn't a political point, it was a career
Well,
witness.
I can't help myself, sorry. All right. The Unified Fuel Economy and Tailpipe Emission Standards adopted during the Obama administration were the result of unprecedented collaboration between EPA, NHTSA, and the state of California. The Clean Car Standards included ambitious increases in fuel efficiency and ambitious reductions in greenhouse gas emissions for cars and light trucks. This was an across-the-board win, benefiting consumers, manufacturing, and the environment. They were our single most important action taken to combat climate change and a key part of our commitment to the Paris Agreement. So naturally, the Trump administration is trying to gut those standards as part of its reckless anti-climate agenda. And this harmful proposal comes from the same administration that insists the government should not be in the business of picking winners and losers. But that is exactly what this rollback does. It picks one winner, the oil industry, while everyone else loses. And that's why yesterday my committee launched an investigation into a secret social media campaign run by the oil industry that misled the American people about this rollback. And we intend to uncover whether the oil industry coordinated with the administration on this deceptive campaign. After all, while the oil industry will win, American consumers will lose in the form of less efficient vehicles. Ultimately, their proposal would increase driver spending at the pump because cars would no longer be required to go further on a gallon of gasoline. And as fuel economy standards go down, costs to consumers go up. American manufacturing will also lose, especially automakers, parts suppliers, and workers, as the Trump administration cedes America's competitive edge to other countries that will develop and build the technologies of the future. And that's why just 2 weeks ago, 17 automakers called on the Trump administration to abandon its deeply flawed proposed rule and return to the negotiating table. According to the administration's own analysis, rolling back those standards would directly eliminate at least 60,000 jobs, and that's just a fraction of the 500,000 jobs that could be lost throughout the automotive supply chain. And public health and the environment will also lose. The administration readily admits the rule will lead to increased particle pollution and smog-forming sulfur dioxide. The proposal would revoke California's longstanding ability to set more protective vehicle standards, as well as other states and territories' ability to adopt those standards. My home state of New Jersey is one of 13 states, plus the District of Columbia, that follow California's lead to improve air quality, meet clean air standards, and improve the health of our communities. And the Trump administration, if it gets this way, would undermine those public health protections. The driving public will also lose. Independent experts and career professionals within the EPA have found that the clean car rollback will actually make our roads less safe, causing more deaths. And at the end of the day, we'll all lose because this rule would increase carbon pollution by more than 7 billion metric tons. If my Republican colleagues are serious about addressing climate change, as they now say they are, they should oppose this disastrous proposal. So I just wanted to, I know that, I think one of my colleagues wanted some time. Oh, no, I guess that's not true. All right, I'll finish. So the existing clean car standards were a victory for consumers, manufacturers, and the environment. They created a single national program for getting more fuel-efficient cars on the road, providing the American auto industry with regulatory certainty and spurred innovation. I just wanted to unfortunately say that throughout this entire process, EPA and NHTSA have made it clear that collaboration and transparency are not priorities. And as Administrator Wheeler testified before this committee in April, the only offer the Trump administration made to California was this proposed rule as is, which would gut the existing standards. And the administration still walked away from the table. And that is more of a holdup than a negotiation. The administration should come back to the negotiating table and work on establishing a meaningful, unified clean car program. And I really hope that that's what comes out of this, that we see the administration come back to the table and renegotiate. And with that, I yield back, Madam Chair.